Andy, are you ready for Halloween? Are you ready for the trick-or-treaters?
In as much as I've bought bags of candy, yes. As far as decorations, we've done none. We've done nothing. It could be May 1st, April 1st, September 1st, you would know the difference. My porch is just a barren land, not inviting kids to climb into spider webs or pumpkins. Even don't even have a pumpkin out right now, Dave. That's how much I don't care. So
Ye- Oh, that's a little crazy. We had our pounder pumpkin carving
I know.
contest. I mean, and so our pumpkins are out. You saw our decorations. It didn't
Yeah.
scare you away. It was, generally lighthearted,
Yeah. Yeah, it was
pretty
friendly, it was
fun.
welcoming. It was like, come on, come
Yeah.
knock on my door. Yeah, so do
So
you greet the kids, Dave, like in normal clothing, or do you dress up when you greet the kids, or do you try and scare them?
I mean, I'm pretty scary and figure in of itself. I don't need much of a costume, but no, I've never really. That's not been something I've ever really done.
What do you think
So
about those houses? The ones that you don't answer the door and there's like creepy music and
yeah.
fully dressed up, like you haven't taken the complete Halloween plunge.
I mean, it's fine. I think it is a little over the top on some respects,
Yeah,
but it's fine. I guess I don't mind. I'm eager to get the stuff down though now, like because obviously after Halloween comes November 1st. I mean, that's the way the calendar works, and that means we're fully into Thanksgiving mode then, Andy, and that's what I'm happy for.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So we'll go through some food. We'll go through some food stuff as we get into November. It's always a fun trick to get into. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being able to watch Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving, which is
Yes.
always a pleasure. And so on. No really like super hollow like Thanksgiving movies or anything like that. I mean, it's a little disappointing, but maybe we need to reinvigorate that.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe we need to do like a Violent Night Thanksgiving edition or something, you know?
It could be like how many great family like the Thanksgiving Day like table it
Yeah.
should be that's a movie like that should be like thousands of movies, right? I mean, there should be like everybody has like crazy uncle or
Yeah.
crazy aunt or something. I mean, I know my crazy aunt, but I mean, it is what it is. So, all right, Andy, let's jump into things. Usually on a Wednesday in NFL season, we start off with football.
Yeah.
So, week 8 is it, I guess, is it's in the books. We're almost at that halfway mark with a 17 game schedule. It's kind of tough, but um big game this week for you guys, but how are you feeling at the end of last week? I mean, pretty the Monday night game, the Steelers, they're 6-2, but man, they don't really feel all that great. But how are you feeling about the week NFL?
I mean, I love it, Dave. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about, we've talked about this before, one of the things that makes the NFL great is that every game matters. I mean, with basketball, with hockey, like with baseball, like you can go on a 10 game skid and like you're still fine. You still can make the playoffs. You can still win the championship. Like in the NFL, those games like just come back to haunt you. You talked about the Ravens and how these
Yeah.
missed games, like that could come back to kill them. And then there's always a couple of teams, especially in the AFC the last few years, that are like really good and just outside the playoff window. It's tough. So I love the impact and meaning of each game of football. And then, where we are now in the season. I mean, look, the Steelers, like everybody wants to sort of like question that team, but Mike Tomlin, like every year that guy gets it done. Like different players, not expected to be good. 10 wins, 11 wins in the playoffs. Like it's incredible to see. So I mean, I almost put them in my top five. Like I almost had them in the top five because they're 6-2, Dave. They're playing winning football. But it's a great season. There's some teams that are doing really terribly, including the third from the bottom, Aaron Rodgers led New York Jets. I think the team that America pretty much universally like is just giddy to see be absolutely abysmal. And they suck, Dave. I mean, you said it on Monday, I think like their chance to make the playoffs is like slim to none already. And like they just suck. I mean, they cannot get out of their own way. Some stupid issue every like I love it, but back to the Lions. I mean, they're NFL power rankings are number one. Like they're winning explosively, violently, and differently week in and week out, and whew, it's a wonderful time to be a Lions fan.
Yeah, it is a good like it's got to feel good about like you have an explosive offense, you have a really good defense.
Yeah,
Both of those coordinators could be up for head coaching jobs, but they both came back for jobs with the Lions to see it done this year.
yeah,
It's playing in pretty well for them. I think the nice thing about the Lions is like you talk about defenses. Like these teams, like it's a tough defense. Like that's a hard-nosed defense. They play rough. They
yeah,
push you around. They beat you up. Hutchinson's out, and yeah, they don't get the same pass rush, but they penalize. Like they beat you up, and I
yeah,
think that's pretty impressive. Andy, another development this week was Anthony Richardson, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, rookie quarterback. He was a surprise like top 10 pick last year. I think he was number 5.
yeah.
And look, the kid has got crazy athleticism. He can throw the ball a mile. He can run fast, but this is why he wasn't such a great draft pick is he was had an awful time with completion percentages. His IQ was really bad. He was at the University of Florida, so I saw this firsthand. He drove the Gator fans crazy
Yeah.
because from all the potential he had, he was terrible. He also couldn't come through in crazy good times. So like the first half of last week, 2 for 15, but the two good throws were really great throws. He just
Yeah.
missed the other 13, Andy. So he gets benched this week for the ageless Joe Flacco. But these young quarterbacks are not playing. So some of them aren't. I mean, some of them are. I mean, but some of these high draft picks, Kenny Pickett's on the
Yeah.
bench.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are Justin Fields. I mean, so
Well, I
another one
think
bites the
Richardson,
dust, I think.
I think he was a guy that he probably would have been well served by having a year or two behind
Yeah.
a Joe Flacco or somebody like that. Like just give him some time to settle into the NFL, work with him on his technique, make him learn how to complete those simple passes and do those check down passes. And they ended up starting him right away, and he got injured right away, and he's been injured a few times, and like he probably shouldn't have been a day one starter, right? The potential is there, but potential is potential, and unless you're going to develop that potential, it's not going to work out for you. And I feel like the Colts probably rushed him. Um, Maybe they're trying to course correct now, get what they can out of Flacco for this year before he turns 90, and give Richardson a chance to learn from somebody that knows how to play the game, and so probably did it backwards, but probably a good thing for him developmentally and career wise. He still has a lot of potential, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Andy, let's get into our top five. Where are you going to go with your top five this week?
I'll tell you, it was a tough week, Dave. It's a tough week. There's a lot of teams sitting in that 6-2, 5-2 area that are all potentially better than each other. So I've got teams that I put on the outside are Houston, Pittsburgh, Washington, who I really wanted to put in there to be honest with you, but I kept them just on the outside, and Baltimore. Even though I'm still petrified of them, I had to drop them because they've dropped 3 games. And so even though I
Yeah.
think they're still
Two bad
still
ones too. They dropped two bad ones.
yeah, and I'm traumatized by them, and I still think I'm still scared of seeing them in the Super Bowl. But I had to put them outside. So my top five, I'm taking a chance here. Number five, we'll see how it shakes out when they play. I put Philly, and I think Philly, the way they've been playing the last few weeks, is a better team than Washington. But I don't know that for sure. That's going to be a really big matchup when they battle head to head here in a minute. So they're number five. I put the Green Bay Packers in at number four. I know Jordan Love's a little banged up, but they're playing good football. And again, I have to eat crow on Matt LaFleur because I talked a lot of trash about him. Once he got rid of the scourge of Aaron Rodgers, I've been really impressed with that guy as a coach, and they're doing really well. So I've got Green Bay at three, or at four. I've got Buffalo sitting at number three. Dave, as much as I want to, I got to keep the Detroit Lions at number two because keeping my rule, right, like Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and ain't
Yeah.
nobody beating the Kansas City Chiefs yet. So they're still number one until they can drop a game. So I've got Chiefs, Lions, Bills, Packers, Eagles. How about you?
Okay, well, it's good. So you speak of the Eagles and the Commanders. They play in 3 weeks,
Yeah,
and they both could win. Like so, the Eagles play. The Eagles have coming up on their schedule the Giants, which they should win,
yeah,
and the Steelers, which is will be a good game, but I think they can win that before. playing the. I'm sorry, that's the Commanders. The Commanders play the Giants this week, and then the Eagles next, or the Steelers next week. So they could win both of those games. And then the Eagles play the Jaguars, and then my lowly Cowboys. So that could be 6-2, or I'm sorry, 7-2 versus 8-1 or whatever the Commanders are. And so that's a really good. That's going to be that'd be a great game. So actually, they'll be the Commanders will be 8-2, and the whatever Eagles will be 7-2. All right, so I'm going to go with mine. I'm going to go with Kansas City number one. I think
Yeah.
that's a no-brainer. I'm moving the Lions to number two. Andy, that's been impressive. I know like they need to beat the Titans bad, but they beat them bad and they beat them
Yeah.
bad. So that was really good. I go back and forth. I think Buffalo's playing really well and Green Bay is playing really
I
well.
know.
Now, the Green
I know.
Bay injury, the Love injury lingers. And can Malik Willis do it? But I'm gonna go. I'm moving. Uh, this is what I'm going to do, Andy. I'm going Kansas City, Detroit. I'm sticking with the Ravens in the top three, and then I'm going Buffalo, Green Bay. So that's where I'm going there, Andy.
I
So
like it. I like it. I think we got some similar teams. It's a hard one. It's a hard one,
yeah.
especially with these like one-off games now because of the bye weeks. It kind of feels a little bit more complicated even than that. So
Yeah.
there's a good picks. Good picks.
All right, where you going for your bottom one, Andy?
I mean, I want to say the Jets, but I'm not going to do that. But
That's
I
bad.
mean, look, the Titans were terrible. Detroit smashed them in the face hard. The Panthers are terrible. I don't think anybody's worse than those two teams. So I don't know.
Flip a coin. Yeah.
Yeah, flip a coin.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with Carolina. It's just really bad there. So
I really feel bad for Bryce Young.
I feel bad for him too. So, all right, Andy, let's move to our next favorite topic on Wednesday. Andy, we're less than a week away now from Election Day. So, back to our predictions from a couple weeks ago. When we have this podcast next Wednesday, are we going to be celebrating a victory or are we going to be celebrating still not knowing?
I it's so tough, Dave. I think we're going to have a declared winner. Right? I think the poll results will tell us that somebody has won the election. I don't think that the election will be over. I think that whoever loses, I mean, it's so close. You look at the seven
Yeah.
battleground states, they're all within the margin of error. The candidate's not currently leading is gaining on the other. I think the last I saw yesterday, I think Kamala Harris had the lead in four, Trump had the lead in three. Her lead is razor thin in her states. Trump's is a little bit better in his. Like, I don't know. So I think that
Yeah.
from a legal standpoint, I think it's going to be contested. Not that Kamala Harris will say that she won the election necessarily, but I think they'll challenge the results either side because it's going to be so close. I think somebody will declare the winner. The other side will contest the election, and I think we're gonna have a little time to have to see it shake out. I think that's my guess on this Wednesday in a very difficult race.
Yeah, it is gonna be very difficult. So it'll be I'm of the opinion somebody will declare themselves a winner, but I think there'll still be a lot to go as well. So Andy, let's talk about one element of the politics part. And it's the media, Andy. We talk about misdis and malinformation a bunch
Yeah.
of times, but a piece of that is the national news media. And Jeff Bezos wrote two things first. Both the LA Times and the Washington Post have not. This is election season. Usually you make it like you put in the opinion piece. This is who you know, we think is should be president, and they put those pieces out there. The Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post have not done that this year. Very controversial. New York Times did. They put Harris, not surprisingly, but they didn't do that. So Jeff Bezos came out this week and put out an opinion piece and basically said the hard truth: Americans don't trust the news media, and it's a note from our owner by Jeff Bezos, right?
Yeah.
So that came out on Monday, basically saying. We must be accurate and we must be believed to be accurate. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we are all failing on the second requirement. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easy to blame others for our long and continuing fall in credibility, but a victim mentality will not help. Complaining is not a strategy. We must work harder, control what we can control to increase our credibility. Andy, I'm not a big Jeff Bezos fan, but I mean, I think that's a fair point to put into an opinion piece. I don't watch any of the like cable news. I'll be lucky to watch the national news, but I want my news straightforward. And I feel like right now you can't watch news without having the bias come through, whether it's through these shows that they have at night. But what do you think of the Jeff Bezos piece, Andy?
Yeah, so look, I am a Jeff Bezos fan. Like I think Amazon is one of the greatest businesses it's ever been. I think we underappreciate the impact it's had on the world, especially during COVID. And I commend him for what he's done in his leadership. And I know there's some business practice people question, blah blah blah. Okay, that's fair. Like you can question those, but I really commend him for his leadership there. I love seeing Blue Origin develop, and I like what I've seen from him as a leader. I could be wrong, but so far I like the guy and his piece. Like I talked about this yesterday a little bit on Threads. Like the timing of his decision to not have an editorial opinion at the Washington Post, lousy. Like lousy, and he acknowledges as much in his opinion piece. Like he says, like the timing was bad. Yeah, like he should have done this 6 months ago, a year ago, like long before, and it would never have been an issue if he'd done that. But to do it at this point in the ball game, it looks suspect, right? So he failed there. But the idea, I mean, he says like no political endorsement from a newspaper has led somebody to vote one way or the other, right? Nobody reading the Washington Post, the New York Times, the New York Post, whatever, is like shocked to find out that they're supporting one candidate or the other, and it's like, oh, now I'm going to vote for that one. But he's saying it does give the perception of bias, and he's right, right? And so, can a newspaper or a news channel like really try and deliver the news and give you facts, right, and genuine reporting, investigative reporting? Look, I read the Post every day, right? I read a lot of news every day, and I think they do a pretty good job. There's a time I think when the Post was definitely seen as a left-leaning media publication. I think they're doing a pretty good job of reporting the news, and so I appreciate his piece. I think I'm going to take it at face value, and I think the fact he's trying to say, look, I'm very rich, and my financial independence is part of why you can trust the Post because I don't have to kiss Donald Trump's ass or anybody else's ass like that. Like he's asking us to trust him. I tell you what, Dave, in 2024, I trust Jeff Bezos more than I trust most politicians, frankly. And so I thought it was a good piece. I appreciate the Post.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I mean, and it is fair. I mean, they're like to get because he says in there, and let me just quote it because you referenced it or whatever. The no undecided voter in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsements.
Yeah,
And in fact, he referenced back to a time from 1933 to 1946 where they didn't do that. They didn't have endorsements either. And I think as you get into that, it does lead to bias and it does
yeah,
lead to saying, hey, the New York Times is clearly liberal. The LA Times is clearly this or that, or the New York Post is clearly conservative. I
yeah.
don't think you need an endorsement to do that. And readers of that make a decision because they like to read the news from that point of view. So does that make or sway any opinion? No, but I do agree the timing was bad. But I do think it brings about like the challenging questions about the role of media in some of this. And when you go to like CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, it's like, especially when you have these big panels and they're trying to bring these experts on to represent a viewpoint, it it's hard for that bias not to come through because they're no longer reporting on the news. They're providing their opinions on the news. And in a lot of respects, that comes across, especially to voters who may be undecided, is very biased. Like clearly, this person, this Democratic strategist, is not going to say anything good about a Republican nominee and vice versa. So I think that's where like the formatting of those news channels, I mean, they clearly made a decision to go one way or the other. The newspapers are struggling, and I think this is a I don't know, Andy, I don't know where I'm going with any of that. So
It is tough and it's hard. I mean, look, I mean, we've both said, what we want to see for this election. We've already pointed. So, are we able to talk about Donald Trump without bias. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think I can separate my preference from the facts and realities of what I see. I try and do it in my work every day, right? I know I have biases and sort of my preferences, but separate those biases from the work that I do. But it's hard. People question it when they think that you're in camp for one person or the other, right? And it's a fair question to ask. Like if you're, I mean, like you read the New York Post and it's 100% for the Republicans, right? They were mocking Donald Trump when the primaries were underway. Full on embrace now, rah rah, get rid of the immigrants, rah rah, the country's falling apart. Like, and it's just like, okay, I mean, like there's news in here, but it's obviously heavily biased, right? Like you know it. And
Yeah.
I think like that's true. So you have to go into these things understanding where a publication, a speaker, or whatever is coming from, and then listen for, what is actually the facts being told here. Because look, the New York Post does do some good reporting, right? Regardless of their politics. So does the Washington Post. But it can be complicated when you're 100% behind somebody. And so I think I don't disagree with what Jeff Bezos said here.
Okay, well, very good, very good. All right, Andy, let's go to some other things real quickly on the just the end on the politics discussion. That we talked about the Trump's MSG Madison Square Garden rally on Monday
Yeah,
very briefly, but one comment that is continues to get spread like wildfire is a comment one of the speakers made prior to about Puerto Rico
yeah,
and being an island of garbage, Andy.
yeah.
Uh, and, and that is spreading like wildfire, and that could be a October surprise unintentionally. So we'll see how that plays out. Any thoughts on as you saw that news spread earlier this week?
Yeah, I mean, it was stupid. I mean, I know comedians want to get out there and be funny and be controversial. Like that was just a stupid thing to say, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're at a political rally in New York fighting for votes, right? Trump trying to make inroads with parts of the population that haven't traditionally voted Republican. You're gonna go out there and like disparage, like you like I don't know if you would say that about, like Louisiana or Michigan, right? Or Maryland, like as a politician, like in an election, you don't want to do that. It was stupid. And the thing
yeah,
is, like that rally invites people to make comments like that, right? The tone of the Trump campaign invites people to say things like that. So it was predictably stupid. What do you
yeah.
think?
We'll see if it plays out. I mean, there's that for a well, we talked about some of the razor thin
Yeah,
margin in some of these states. I mean, that could be an ultimate swayer. Even though the Trump campaign that never apologizes did come out and try to distance themselves from those remarks. Andy, we talked about Halloween earlier and about having your bags of candy ready. It's fun little thing from Axios, Andy. What's the most popular Halloween candy?
yeah.
And they did a look by all the states, and sometimes these are weird ones, like what's the most popular fast food restaurant in these things, and all this other stuff, and you're like, why is that there? But in any event, there was only out of the 50 states, Andy, it was an overwhelming majority, or 43 of the 50 were Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
You had three that were peanut M&Ms, and then four that were regular M&Ms. And it's like an M&M wall. You talk about the blue wall for the Democrats, or like the Bible Belt, and such. You have a M&M wall here. It's
Yeah.
effectively Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana for M&Ms, Idaho, Utah, and Hawaii so for peanut M&Ms. Everybody else, Andy, Reese's peanut butter cups. You have a preference on Halloween candy?
So I don't know if I do. I mean, when I think of Halloween candy, like I think of corn candy, right? Because I think that
Oh,
was
okay.
always like that was a special, unique Halloween thing. You can get M&Ms any day of the week. You can get Reese's. I'm shocked by the popularity of Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't know if it's the orange theme that sort of like wins Halloween, like especially with the number of kids that have peanut allergies these days. I'm surprised that this is popular as it is. But for me, like corn candy was like the Halloween treat, right? These little triangular pellets of sugar that you could just gobble down like you only got at Halloween. So like that's a special one. So this interesting data here coming from Axios, and I think the M&M's wall is fascinating. Like I don't know, is M&M's aggressively pushing in the upper middle states there? You know, is there a big campaign that we're not aware of in the upper middle states? We're not seeing the rest of the country, but Reese's Pieces, I mean, they're looking like Ronald Reagan in 1984 out there.
I'd like to see some of the underlying data, Andy. What's the
Yeah,
percentages here? Because like that it's a good point you bring up, and you talk about news bias. Maybe Axios has got some bias here. Maybe they've got some connections with.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we should investigate a little bit more.
That's right. Yeah, let's get some transparency, Axios. Let's see what's going on here. This is very, very suspect reporting here. I think maybe Axios is in the bag for Reese's Pieces. We should like America needs to know the truth here, Dave.
They definitely do. So, all right, another fun story, Andy, you shared with me is kind of something going on. It's from the Daily Dot, Andy. I thought I was going crazy. Man demands answers after evaluating a the Q-tip brand,
Yeah,
Andy.
yeah.
And the story goes here is a man had he thought the Q-tips were a little flimsy, the sticks were a little flimsy. So he somehow, I don't know if he had one or he got one from a year or two ago and did a comparison between the Q-tips from 2023 and the Q-tips from today. And they are flimsier, Andy. My question is like why this is spreading on TikTok and on some of the socials, but why do we care about this other than companies do try to get cheaper in some places? Do you need a very sturdy thing in your ear? I'm not sure. Do you?
Well, I mean, you know, Dave, if you read the Q-tip package, right, as much as many of us love Q-tips, I don't know if you love Q-tipping. I love Q-tips. This is the joy of Q-tipping after a shower is it's up there, man. I love those things. But if you read the instructions, like they say, you know, basically don't use these in your ear, right? Use them for everything else, right? Knowing
Yeah.
that nobody, but they're, you know, clean your rifle, clean that little spot, you know, in your screen door, right? Use them for this. So for the purpose that they're saying that you should use them for, like you do need that solid, hard paper, you know, base that they used to have, and it was, I mean, it was solid. Now they are flimsy. So if you're like putting pressure down on them, trying to clean these areas, you know, it doesn't have that same structural, you know, strength that it used to have. And if you're an aggressive, like I get a little aggressive with most of the things that I do, and I like to clean my ears, and I don't need some flimsy Q-tip going in my ear, Dave. I need something that I can have confidence in. I can get out, you know, whatever is lingering inside of those nooks and crannies. So I think it's a fair point here. I think, you know, I commend this individual for this is reporting, Dave. This is deep dive analysis, unlike Axios's questionable Halloween candy report.
Yeah, I guess I just never really, I mean, I look, I feel like companies try to do this all the time, right? They try to chimp as they can. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a bag of dog food that like the same medium size is somehow shrunk over the
Oh
you
yeah.
know, used to
Oh yeah.
last for so we've seen that kind of reporting. What was it calling downsizing or I can't remember.
Shrinkflation, Dave.
Shrinkflation, that's what it was. I can't remember what that was. Yeah, shrinkflation. I mean, you get the same size or can or something, but now it's instead of 12 ounces, it's 10.5 ounces or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like opening that
Um,
bag of cereal, Dave. You open this giant
oh
box
yeah.
of cereal or your box of chips, and like there's nothing inside but air. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
why am I carrying this giant package around? There's nothing in it. So
Yeah.
I think good reporting here. Fair report by the
Yeah.
guy.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for a Wednesday, Andy. Anything to take out on for today? Are you having a good week so far?
Dave, I am having a good week. It's an insanely busy week. It's been an insanely busy month, but you know, we're pushing on. Thanksgiving is in sight. A couple, you know, nice slower days, time to celebrate. So, you know, I feel like I'm on a mile 18 of a marathon here. You know, it's a point where you know you really aren't excited about how much you have left, but you've already got so much done. Just keep running. And so I'm in running mode right now, Dave. How about you? You ready? You doing all right here midweek?
Yeah, yeah, gonna go to a little volunteer event today, and so that'll be fun. And yeah, it's been a good week. It's just been busy too. Looking forward to Halloween tomorrow. It'd be fun to pass out candy. I do enjoy that. So
Yeah, so you know, for me, Dave, you typically end up in my gym for the first part, so it's really awkward as I'm like, you know, grunting and groaning and slinging weights, and you know, some little girl in a bunny outfit comes up asking for candy, and it's like, hold on, here you go, here are your Reese's Pieces or whatever it is we're handing out, you know. So
yeah,
so sorry,
just
kids coming to my door during my workout.
You just make sure you're not wearing your short shorts, Andy. I don't think anybody wants to
If I'm
see
wearing my short shorts, I mean that's what I wear. That's that's my Halloween costume.
Yeah, as long as you don't fall over and somebody can see your balls or something. So, was that line from Happy
That's
Gilmore?
yeah, yeah.
"Dude, you got old man balls or
Old
whatever.
man balls.
So, all right, Andy, on those, that's a great way to end this podcast. Mama Jabor is now terrified. So, or horrified is probably the right
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
All right, Andy. With that, I'll catch up with you next time.